Good evening. Tonight is May 13th, 2024. This is the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Board of Education of USD 453. Call the meeting to order. Mr. Carney?
I'm here.
Ms. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Overby?
Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
And I'm Danielle Wells. Let's please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Adams, if we can have the district mission statement, please.
Yes, ma'am. And just a reminder again for those in attendance, if we can speak closely to the microphone. That's my PSA on behalf of Mr. Sifford. The mission of the Leavenworth Public Schools is to prepare every student for success in every classroom every day.
Next up is scheduled patron input. We have one this evening, and I do not believe they have spoken before, so I'm going to read the entire statement. We're pleased you have joined us tonight to celebrate student and staff achievement, hear informational presentations and reports, and the consideration of policy decisions and administrative recommendations specific to the Leavenworth Unified School District. We set aside time at each regularly scheduled board meeting to hear from the public. Comments should be directed toward board policy or the procedures our administrators established to carry out those policies, as opposed to individual complaints to investigate and resolve. Please understand that while board members will listen to and carefully consider all of your comments, board members will not immediately respond to questions either verbally or through gestures, for example, raising hands, nor will they engage in dialogue of answer and response during the patron input section tonight. This is not an appropriate time or place for patrons to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or student by name. Persons making comments which violate the privacy rights of district employees or students will be asked to terminate their remarks. If speakers have concerns specific to an individual student or staff member, please make an appointment with the superintendent. Those concerns will be documented and shared with the board. Each patron is reminded that they will have 3 minutes to speak and will be given notice when 15 seconds remain. If a group is in attendance with the same interests, we ask that a spokesperson be appointed to deliver the group's message. As a unified board committed to desired outcomes for our school community, we ask that comments not be directed at any individual at any individual board member, but rather addressed to the board as a whole. Thank you for taking the time to discuss the district business and policies with the board. And tonight, I welcome to the podium Ethan Herkin.
Leavenworth Board of Education. I'm Ethan Herkin, from a senior in Leavenworth High School. I'm reaching out about not being allowed to wear cords and stoles, specifically with nationally recognized organizations at graduation. I understand the policy of not decorating the cap and gown because of actions of students from previous years and the possibility of inappropriate decorations. I understand having to apply and get approved to wear a cord or stole. But the main issue was the lack of communication to parents and especially to students this year. There is no list of approved cords or stoles on the district or school websites, and the seniors weren't told about not being allowed to wear cords or stoles until May 3rd. Even then, when asked about how to get the stoles or cords approved, we were told by admin that it was too late to even get them approved. This was 15 days until graduation, and no information was given until it was too late, and the cords and stoles were already bought by families. As a further insult, we are told that we would not be allowed to walk at graduation if we wore them. If this was communicated earlier or listed on the school website clearly, this would not have been as significant of an issue. Seniors could have applied and gotten their cords and stoles approved, but the late notice prevented this from occurring and overall is making families and especially seniors mad and frustrated. Because these policies were not communicated correctly and in a timely manner so as to allow seniors to request approval and avoid unneeded expenses, I request that you reverse this policy and approve cords and stoles from nationally recognized organizations and update the website so this is communicated ahead of time for next year. Technically, the graduation approved stoles and cords are on the district website, but to find it, you go to USD 453, Families, Resources, Student Handbooks, and manually find it as it isn't listed in the table of contents. For your information, it's under Miscellaneous on page 52 of 72. And even then, not all in-school programs that offer cords or stoles are in there, such as JROTC and Mu Alpha Theta. The email list from admin includes these programs, but they are not in the handbook, which is the only list on the website. This is too specific for people to find, especially when it's told to students until their senior year, 15 days before they graduate. In the same manner, seniors were told that we can wear cords and stoles after graduation, but what is the point of wearing them afterwards? How, as a district, can we brag about having students be involved in more than just our school organizations and not allow them to show off and gain recognition from these accomplishments? Why, as accomplished seniors, are we prevented from showing off our achievements from outside school organizations? For example, I went to Boy State and I'm an Eagle Scout. Both are nationally recognized organizations, and meeting success in these organizations are big accomplishments outside of school. There are other organizations that other seniors are part of too that fit this criteria,
15 seconds.
such as Girls States, NSHSS, and Tri-M Music Honor Society. But seniors are prevented from showing each other, the school, and their families their accomplishments as they walk across the stage. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Would like to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Carney?
Aye.
7-0. Consent agenda. We have the check register, minutes, treasurer's report, consideration of CPA auditor services, consideration of IDEA, application and certifications, consideration of TSA field trip, consideration of district website renewal, staff handbooks, and student handbooks.
I'd like to remove 2.8 and 2.9.
Okay. Any other removals?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified, removing 2.8 and 2.9 and moving those to 3.1 and 3.2. Those being staff handbook and student handbook.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Carney?
Aye.
7-0. Sorry, I've raised my hand as well. All right, new item 3.1, staff handbook.
So the administrator handbook. Sorry, I was having trouble with it loading at home today to get the page numbers written down. It's item 6 on page 2. Pursues appropriate measures to correct laws. Can you speak to what we're talking about?
Sure. Mr. Severode, if you could find and navigate to that, please. Thank you. Want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. What was the page reference?
2,
Page 2,
item 6.
item 6. And this was or was not a material change?
I don't believe so.
Okay. My apologies. Would you mind zooming in for my failing eyesight?
What kind of laws are we talking about there?
So what comes to my mind on number 6 is annually you have legislative changes
Okay,
that we're actually getting ready to go through right now.
okay. I just wanted to clarify that to
Sure.
connect it to the verbiage we're talking about with law enforcement.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's my next point is the communication with law enforcement in red.
Page number,
Looking, that would be page 5
page 5.
towards the bottom half. So this reads, prior to contacting law enforcement authorities directly for school-related matters on campus or at district events activities, administrators will make every effort to notify district administration But then, give me just 1 second. When we go to the next handbook, the verbiage seemed to be different. Prior to contacting law enforcement authorities directly for school-related matters on campus or at district events activities, staff are required to notify school administration. So I think my concern was, I guess, why everyone isn't being treated equally as far as in regards to contacting law enforcement. You have to be an administrator to understand when it's appropriate to contact law enforcement. Also, I felt like we just put a lot of money into purchasing the neck button, the lanyard, so
Strategics.
that they can
Yep.
contact law enforcement if they feel it's necessary quickly in the case of an emergency to try to cut down on any moments lost. And I kind of felt like this sort of would not let that program be able to run as it was intended.
That didn't.
Yeah, I would say the intent of that language is not to be contradictory to our strategics procedures. So I assume the next handbook you're referencing is the staff handbook. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Okay. We spoke to the middle school staff about this a couple weeks ago. If there's an emergency situation, we absolutely want staff to contact the appropriate 911, right? It is
Yeah.
for those non-emergency situations that our preference would be that staff work through their building administration before law enforcement shows up, and that our building administration are not even aware that they're coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's the ability to discern between a true emergency situation and those non-emergency situations.
So I just felt like that verbiage could be, like, if I was the staff member, I would just, if I'm given something when I'm hired per se, and it
Sure.
says you're required to do this in this way, and then I'm trained on a system that suggests I do have some decision-making power. I just think they're a little bit in conflict with each other.
Okay.
So, let's see. And I don't have the page number on this. This is the Service Center and Child Nutrition.
Can you do a find function
Side.
for us, please?
We're still in administrator handbook, right?
This would be, let's see. I think this is moving on to the,
Certified?
So new attachment.
so
So let's go to staff attachment, please.
that's all I had on the
Okay.
Certified or
administrator
classified?
side.
Say it again.
Certified or classified?
So we're in
Certified or classified? Sorry. Good.
Certified, I believe.
Certified handbook, please. Okay, and it was referencing child nutrition. Is that accurate? Can we do a find for child nutrition, please?
I don't see a find function online.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Nothing.
Is it in classified maybe?
Well,
Because
probably, because I
it
don't
has
see
to
it in
do
this
with
one. Yeah, it would be classified,
who
yeah.
their rater is, or their right.
Let's try the classified find function for child nutrition.
Yeah, I think it's in classified.
Flashing.
And we're using an exact string on the find, right? Okay. Nothing. Thank you.
Well, anyhow, the verbiage reads, Service Center personnel are hired, assigned, and evaluated by the Director of Facilities, and child nutrition personnel who remain district staff members are evaluated by the Director of Dining Services with Chartwells. And so I was wondering how that works if they're a district staff employee, but they're reporting to Chartwells.
Okay.
Do we have another example of when we are the employer, but they're I mean, does that mean they're managed by an outside
okay.
contractor?
Look under service center. I think I understand the question now.
Okay.
So this is maybe for everybody's learning, but this is year one. I think you and I had this conversation earlier today. We're wrapping up year one with Chartwells as our food service management company. As they were brought on last year, each employee was effectively given that option to remain a Chartwells employee remain a district employee or
Right.
become a Chartwells employee. With new hires, they all become Chartwells employees. So for a while, you're going to have those that were with the district that remain district employees. Does that make sense? I
But-
cannot think of another situation that would operate like that because
Right.
our other contracted service, as you're well aware, is Easton Bus. And I'm looking at Beth. I'm thinking of very few people that are not Easton Bus employees. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
I think the question though, maybe is there a problem with having a contractor rate
Judging
those
our
employees?
So,
Okay.
Because they're technically, they're district employees, but the
So-
verbiage says that they're reporting to
Now I'm
Chartwells
okay.
for their
if I may,
evaluations and
if
whatnot.
I may, one of my responsibilities this year was closely working with Johnny and Chartwells, and I also was part of the supervision of child nutrition department. So there have been some evaluations done, and I have sat in on those evaluation meetings with those employees as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Is
So-
that a practice that will continue until we no longer have district employees
Yes.
managed by Chartwell?
Yes, that's correct.
So you would be considered the district supervisor. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, moving on. So I noticed the changing of pronouns, taking out the his and her and adding their. And I was wondering if anyone had wanted to talk about why we made that change in the handbook this year.
Singular they is accepted grammar, and most of them, the antecedent was already unknown sex or gender. When you just say the service member or the staff member, you don't know who they are and you automatically go they. There's no reason to put he/she. It's not as clean. Clean language, plain language calls for singular they.
And we have there too. Okay, next is if someone would like to talk about taking out the no child left behind verbiage.
Which
And
am
that's on page 30. of
Page
the
30
administrator. Sorry,
of
I'm skipping
administrator.
over
You
it.
know what that's about? Because it's outdated, it's old. Don't need the whole history when it's multiple, it's over 10 years old.
Okay,
So it just simplifies what the language is there.
okay.
Was there a special committee set up to change this verbiage, or just did board members show up to help do that?
All of you are open to send in comments.
Right, well, I'm just
That's what
curious.
first read is about.
I realize that.
It's all first read comments.
Then I didn't see the comments come through the email, so that's why I'm asking.
And then the our mission verbiage on page 39 of the administrator handbook. I was wondering, when do we decide on verbiage change for mission verbiage?
Because it's been our mission for several years.
That's been our mission for years.
It's corrected to
Yeah.
the current mission that's been there.
So we just found that we had never updated it. Is that all?
Jake, do you have that information? So on page 39 specifically,
It's up toward the top there.
yeah, under parent involvement policy, the district mission statement, it looks like it's just now being corrected to what we've been using for the last many years.
It just means it was missed in previous years.
Okay.
Okay.
So each of these handbooks has 80+ pages,
Mm-hmm.
and with input of the board each year, we do things.
Okay.
Yeah, when we go through this process, there's probably kind of two changes. One are material content changes. The other are things that we caught that were either incorrect grammar, incorrect punctuation, or in this case, just one we had missed previously. So thanks to Mr. Potter for catching that one.
And so this I don't have the page number on. It's about if you see a crime at school or on school property, file the necessary report as soon as you can with a school administrator. And so I was wondering what type of crime we're talking about and what's the process on that? If they see a crime, they report to the administrator, and then what happens from there?
Sure. So I'll speak broadly.
Okay.
I would say it's the see something, say something principle, right? We don't have eyes everywhere in a building. And so we're asking all staff, I assume this was in a staff handbook, right?
Yeah.
To report when they see a crime. And then the appropriate protocol for our administrator is determined, is that going to be something we handle in-house? Or is that something that gets reported to law enforcement? And that's an important discernment depending upon the level and severity.
So
But
how does the
but-
administrator
handle a
know
crime.
what?
If it's a crime, that's going to be handled by law enforcement, right?
Not always, no.
So what are we talking about? Crime, like something that's illegal?
If you have an
So-
illegal substance, for example,
Okay.
then we're going to contact law enforcement. If we see something along one of our, in our neighborhood near our school, we're going to report that to an administrator. They're going to determine whether or not they need to contact the police.
Okay.
Just always trying to be proactive to keep our kids safe and our staff safe.
I think I was thinking more along the lines of if we're opening ourselves up for foul play, instead of the employee directly reporting to law enforcement, we're leaving it up to another staff member to decide whether something gets reported to law enforcement. So I just wanted to kind of talk through that a little bit. So
Sure.
Thank you. And then to the dress code. This is page 21.
On the student. right?
Student.
Of the student. If it's okay to
Student
move
handbook 21, please.
there.
So are we done? Because that's a separate
Yeah.
item. So
Yeah,
are we
we
done
can
with
wait.
3.1? Is there any further discussion on 3.1, the staff handbooks? Do you feel like your questions were all answered?
Good.
Okay. And so I just want to remind everybody, and for anybody that hasn't been at previous meetings, this was already a first read. We were asked to give our questions and submissions of corrections by May the 1st so that they would be available for us to review each other's things in the upcoming agenda. And so that is the process that we do. Do we need to approve 3.1 now? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve 3.1.
Are you comfortable with the questions you have?
Okay, I'll second.
Mr. Carney seconded.
Oh.
All those in
Mr. Carney,
favor?
second.
Mr. Carney? I'm sorry, I didn't see you guys. Okay,
6-1.
6-1.
I'm sorry, for clarification, Judy Price, Mrs. Price moved.
Mrs.
Carney
No,
seconded.
Mr. Carney moved.
Overby second.
Thank
And now
you.
we're going to 3.2, right?
Yes. All right, now 3.2, the student handbook.
So to respond to your comment, I like to bring things across to the public. So that's why I go through these questions.
Well, it's made public whenever we put the agenda out. So,
Discussions on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Questions aren't.
the
They
discussion.
can't read our emails.
okay. It just makes our meetings so much longer, and we're here to pass policy and make things go, not posture for the public. So,
It's not
let's go.
posturing, it's information and
It's being
transparency.
transparent.
There's a lot
Same
to be
words.
said for passing things as being posturing as well.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on. Page 21 talks about dress code. And so I was just wondering what we're doing. I was trying to think of any place, if we're preparing our kids for success, then are we trying to prepare them for success outside of school? That's what I thought was happening. And so it looks like we're taking pajama pants and saying that's like normal attire. I was thinking the school environment should have a certain level of professionalism. And so I didn't know if anybody wanted to talk through that.
I think there is a large portion of the workforce that does work from home in pajama pants, as well as lots of places it's acceptable for people to wear. I don't like it. I personally don't do it, but
That was
they're-
the key word. They work from home. That means they're on camera from here up. They're not going to school around professionals who are educating them, who have higher standards of dress code than what we're expecting any of the kids to do.
I personally find our dress code policy much too abrasive already and causes administration way too many headaches with having to enforce things that are perfectly fine once they leave our walls. So I have no problem with this whatsoever.
And then the muscle shirts, similarly along the same line, would be the all shirts must have sleeves also being removed. All three of those categories are obviously lowering standards. And I have no clue why the school would want to do that. And then I didn't know if anybody wanted to talk about bandanas.
I'm conflicted with the bandana issue because it says there will not be any gang-related clothing worn. And last I've heard, blue and red bandanas are still gang signs.
It's
I
also,
mean, it may not be gangs of Leavenworth, but they
Can-
are nationally known gangs.
Can I ask a clarifying question on this one? I assume we've all been affected by cancer in some way.
Sure.
How will you treat those that are going through cancer treatment?
That's all I wanted was just an explanation for that change.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, and so
Can I jump in on that question? Is that regardless of what our policy says on for students or for staff, remember we also have a policy that allows for reasonable accommodation
Right.
for disability, which cancer were to be covered over, or
Right.
for religion.
So in other words, you can still have a bandana policy without it affecting cancer patients. And then the shirts of excessive length are to be tucked in again would be a professionalism item. So to not teach the kids what would be professionalism in school, I think is a disservice to our entire student body. And then, let's see. The health assessments piece, I was a little bit uncomfortable with, especially as the state is, I don't have the page number on that. Health assessments is the title. It says a school nurse may conduct general health assessments for the purpose of evaluating the well-being of a student as a result of a health condition, suspected illness, injury, or impairment at the request of a parent, guardian, or school administration.
page 28.
And then health assessments conducted by a school nurse will be documented in school care and conducted as defined and outlined. So I guess this concerned me a little bit that it didn't sound like a parent was going to be involved. If there was suspicion or a school administrator that wanted a student to be given a health assessment, it could be done with or against the student's will, with or against the parent's will. So I just thought we should talk through that.
I actually sent this to my daughter who has the kindergartner, who was in healthcare before moving here. When you have a parent who's looking at the student handbook, and it's just a student handbook that the student goes through and signs for.
Right.
Technically, some parents may. Are we expecting the parents to go and look up exactly what the Kansas Nurse Practice Act is? Because that's not going to be common knowledge.
Right.
You would actually need to put that explanation in there of what that act is, so you have those expectations. And since not everybody has computers always, may not be assigned a computer, if you don't have that act in there, then there is no real explanation of what they can expect.
Sure. So I think we want to look at the intent here, right? As I read this, the intent is if I have a parent that's unreachable and I've got a child that needs medical attention,
Yeah.
I want our folks to be able to act accordingly. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And that is what I believe is the spirit of this policy. I don't believe that we are trying to hide treatment from parents or otherwise.
All right.
Where did this initiation come from of this paragraph? Because this is a brand new paragraph that's not stricken from anything else.
I'm looking district nurse. Yep.
And who is your head district nurse?
I mean, speaking candidly, we're running into situations where parents are unreachable, and
Okay.
we've got to make, thankfully, not life-threatening decisions, but we're making decisions, right? And loco parentis does kick in, And so, in my opinion, this is to allow that student to have the proper treatment in the event we cannot contact the parents.
Okay.
Mrs. Wells, this specific language was added after a situation that occurred at the high school, and we followed up on an investigation with the concern of a parent. And the documentation we have, and our nurses are able, based off of their licensure, to do health screenings, health assessments for various reasons. We did not have language in our handbook that was very specific and allowed them that opportunity. And so as a follow-up from our investigation, being proactive for next year, we wanted that language in there.
Thank you. And lastly, in regards to the public comment that we had this evening, I guess I could just say I'm disappointed that we're disgruntling seniors and senior families. That seems like the opposite of what we should be doing, especially this time of year. And I do not find that the families involved or being affected are negligent on their behalf. I find them to be people that are rather involved in the district. And so I think that should be something that's taken a look at. If families that are very involved in our district aren't familiar maybe with the school's practice. And I think that needs to be looked at as a whole. And I think it needs to be an easy process, honestly. I mean, I have a senior also. And when you do things like graduation, you send them to meetings at the high school. You want it to be an exciting time. You want it to be a supportive time. You want them to feel celebrated and loved and cared for by the community, by the school, by the administration, by the Board of Education. You want them to feel like their families are supported, like their efforts inside and out of school are appreciated and that they're valued. And that's not how my senior came home. And my senior is a pretty simple fella. He's not one that goes out and involves himself in a lot of things. So I imagine with that experience that it was probably a fairly poor circumstance. And when we have students who are involved in other things outside of school and they feel like they haven't been properly communicated to, I think it just is another glaring example of how we don't have good communication. And you know, when something needs to be wiggled, it's not wiggled. I think in this case, they should have been cared for by administration. 15 days is plenty of time. 2 days is plenty of time, in my opinion, to move on something. Maybe even 24 hours or less. So I would just like to see us have a student focus. And in this case, I don't think that was done. And that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
So in regards to the stoles and cords, the ones that we have listed, are they only the ones that we provide to the students for things that they have earned at the school?
Yes. That is accurate.
And I understand that there's like a list of nationally recognized ones that
Do you have a page number for us? Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
So still speaking of the policy on number 51.
Page 51.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
for the-
yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
have it
was there.
memorized.
I thought I didn't look up. So there is a list there. Yep. Right there of what we do honor. I am all for looking at what our students are involved in. And if there's more than like a onesie, twosie that are involved in nationally, because like my student, I ran into this many years ago when my oldest graduated. He earned his Eagle Scout rank and wasn't allowed to wear his cords. And I felt very shocked by that. I also felt unprepared and upset that that was not able to happen because I felt like the Boy Scouts of America had been around forever, as well as Girl Scouts. The girls weren't able to wear their cords for earning their gold award, and the boys weren't able to do the Eagle Scouts. And now we have, you know, an even bigger thing of the scouting because a lot of the program has changed and combined. Like Miss Rush here in the audience has her Eagle cords on. And so I am personally in favor of adding those two specifically tonight, if possible, for this graduation, while looking at other ones that interest our school's students population specifically.
I
If
think
it's
that
possible.
might, it might be good to have a bigger discussion on that, because if you're going to do Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and you can do Trail Life and American Heritage Girls, and the list goes on and on and on. And
I think we could approve those 4 tonight unless anybody was opposed, because those are widely known.
I'm unfamiliar with the other two. I'm only
Boy
spoke of
State,
the ones
Girl
that
State.
I'm unfamiliar with those as well. So I was only recommending the two that I am familiar with.
It's probably because it's military related.
I'm
VFW
not military
and-
affiliated.
Trail Life would be an alternative to Boy Scouts, and American Heritage Girls is an alternative to Girl Scouts.
I just wonder how long, I mean, there's a lot that we can all agree on. I just wonder how long you want that list to be.
I would not want it to, so I'm all for saying no to today if we can't come to any kind of an agreement, because I don't want to open it up to anything and everything.
If
I
the most we
think
can
that
do
we
is those
should-
2, then that would at least be a start. I
Well,
would agree with that.
I'm not saying that either. I'm thinking that we definitely need to poll our students and find out what organizations they are interested in. And so Mr. Herkin had mentioned earlier about applying to have, I wasn't aware of a process that we have at the high school to apply to wear additional things at the,
I'm looking at Mr. Potter because he
High
was
school
involved in
level?
this last week. Yep. So it's to the building, right?
okay.
What I
The
do,
And so-
building administrator had the opportunity to approve it 15 days ahead as well.
yeah, those do not come to this office, just
I
to be
would-
clear.
So I would like to see us in the future, like regardless of what we do tonight, poll families of the incoming seniors at the beginning of the year when we do that senior night and get the information, find out what organizations they're in that they anticipate receiving awards from, that they would want to have, and make sure that it's encompassing and that it's vetted organizations that we are proud that our students are a part of, if that's a possibility, to find out what they are and include them into this list potentially.
And I
I'm
would
not
just,
saying that it's not
I would
against it.
just wonder, what's important, what's not important. Like last year, this was a college level graduation, but kind of along the line of what we're talking about with being acknowledged. So there was a point of the ceremony where they acknowledged transgender students. And I think it was 1 or 2 that stood up out of that population of KCKCC that graduated that year. And that still got part of the program. So I think if it's something that the student's involved in, like lots of schools,
I would say it would need to be academic and civically minded, like what our school is representative of. And I understand, like, there's lots out there as well that come to us as parents that were like, purchase this, your student can
Right.
wear it, and it has no academic rigor to it whatsoever. You're just paying for them to wear the regalia. And I think we need to be wary of things like that as well.
and like I think it was Spring Hill maybe that already did their graduation last weekend or something, but they had where you can decorate like the top of your cap and all those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
I think
Lots of schools do that.
that's awesome. Showing, letting the students show some of their personality in that important part of their,
I also
Right.
think we should sell parking spots and let our students do that for their senior year, but that's just me.
yes, that's from Lansing.
I think Lansing does that.
They do.
And we've brought it up a couple of 3 different times, and sections of the administration said no.
But for tonight, are we gonna approve these 2 and then we can discuss all the rest of it later?
Sounds good.
Alright,
I'm okay with that. Do we have a consensus? Is there a motion to do that?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Boys and Girl Scouts of America. Is that the one that he was wanting? Cords for this year's graduation, and then we'll have surveys, debates, and consension on additional ones later.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Carney? 7-0.
Mrs. Wells, you still need a motion to approve the student handbook?
Yep.
So we
Um,
should be revisiting this like early in the year.
Is there,
Yeah, and
This
I want to
policy.
seek a clarification. So on tonight's agenda is the handbook for next year.
oh, okay.
So changes made tonight would not be
Right.
effective for this graduation.
Okay. How do we make it what we just discussed effective for this graduation?
As far as the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts.
Correct.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
That-
this
that-
is for the 24-25
We need
student
to make a
handbook.
separate motion to approve them to wear them.
Yeah,
this
that,
year.
and that was not on the agenda is
It's
my
correct.
point.
So we need to make a motion to add an
Sorry.
item to the agenda.
You have something?
There you go. You answered my.
So I make a motion to add to the agenda.
We've already approved the agenda though.
We've already
So
approved the agenda, so we can't do it.
correct.
Okay.
However,
In the
I mean,
spirit of graduation.
Dr. Adams has heard everything that you guys have said. I'm sure he can have a discussion with the principal
Okay.
about that.
All right, so 3-2 would still need a motion. That would be for the 24-25 student handbooks.
Was there any further discussion after?
Just one
Yep,
small little thing. And I don't know what page, I'm sorry, but it's on searches of students. It's just a typo.
Can you look up search,
And I
please?
It's
think
in the
it's
student
student.
handbook.
Student handbook.
I think it's the student, maybe it's not.
It's
And
likely
we
in the
already
student
closed that
handbook.
out.
Yep.
I don't,
No, we haven't closed out the student.
didn't we
handbook.
close out that, because it was
The
the other,
administration staff.
the administration one?
Yeah. that
I
one's
don't
done.
remember which one it is because I just
Well, if
found
it's
it
a
like
typo,
right before I
definitely.
got here. It's a vehicle. It's just a typo. It's. I don't know which one I was looking at. It's probably admin handbook.
Yep, I see it on the screen. Vehicle is missing an E.
Yeah.
Yep.
Second line from bottom. Red text.
That's all.
Mr. Potter will make that correction.
So where are we at? I'm sorry. I'm lost.
Make a motion to approve 3.2.
Perfect. Was that you making that motion?
Sure.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Carney?
All right.
So we're at 4-3? Oh, no. Elisa, did you vote yes or no? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to item 4.1.
All right, we're gonna have both Beth and Johnny come up.
So, good evening. Tonight, we are asking for approval to renew the food service management contract with Chartwells. This is an annual requirement that we have to do every year. And the requirement requires reviewing the fixed price per meal amount, which is on the board agenda. And that is set by Consumer Price Index from KSDE. So those numbers are what has to be approved. We have a short presentation here to go over with you. We got this this morning, so that's why it was not part of the board agenda. So let me pass this out, and Johnny's gonna start going through it. Okay.
So Miss Beth, while that's being passed out, so
you.
the grant that we had to make breakfast and lunch free this year, that is gone?
No, that is still,
Okay.
it's not part of Chartwell's renewal.
Okay.
It was separate.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know, I'm Johnny Patwari. I'm a Director of Dining Services. I just want to thank you for letting me to come and represent the food service and give you guys some updates. So this is my agenda. I want to talk about the team. So some updates on the meal counts, our culinary focus, student engagement, and some communication process that we're going to go through. So May 3rd, we had a school lunch hero day, and my team and the students, we all observed this, our lunch heroes in our each cafeterias. So this is my team right here. And a little update on our staffing. So beginning of last year, school year, we had 23 district team members and 4 Chartwell members. And towards the end of the school year now, we have 21 district team members and 17 Chartwell team members. And we are still continuing to recruit. This meal count kind of justifies why we are continuing to recruit. When a school district, they face towards a CEP free meal, we anticipate 15% jump. And you can see the breakfast it's according to what we anticipated, but the lunch, we had a big jump of 24%. So this kind of justifies why we are going to keep recruiting people in. You can look into each month's justification on comparison from last year to this year for breakfast. And this for lunch. So you can see a big hike. Student engagement. So we did a pop-up event. It's a fun event for the kids. We did a smoothie day, had a great review. And this is something we're going to continue next year. We're going to have much more events for the kids from each grade level. We partnered with the foundation, Education Foundation. And so it was we got some great reviews. We're going to continue this partnership next year too. Oh, 1 second, let me go back. Recently, we did interviews with students from each grade level just to their experience this past year. So I kind of like this video. If you look at it, we got some positive and some constructive too. And I'm going to take this feedback and construct our menu for the next year as well. So if you don't mind.
All right, so tell me what you got on your plate today.
I have some pizza toast and some pizza. And I have strawberry milk and some peaches.
What are your favorite things that you have for breakfast or lunch here at Anthony?
I think I might have to go with the pizza. I just really think that's a really good.
And you're having breakfast. What do you like about breakfast here at Anthony?
Everything.
If you could change anything, what would you change?
The pizza so good and add extra pepperoni on the pizza.
Even at breakfast time? What's your favorite lunch that they serve here?
Friday pizza.
Right, so you're all about the pizza, it sounds like. Besides more pizza, what other changes would you like to see, if anything?
Different food society, like different food.
So, like, what would be some different ones that you would like to see?
Spaghetti, maybe, because I know they do spaghetti, but they don't do it. They do it like once a month.
What's your favorite lunch that they serve here?
Cheeseburger.
Is there anything that they don't serve that you wish that they would? What?
Cookies.
Cookies? And you're having breakfast here. What do you like about breakfast in Anthony?
I like how the lunch ladies always prepare breakfast, and they always give you a choice. Same with lunch, and how they give you enough time to eat before you go to the gym.
What's your favorite meal that they have, either breakfast or lunch?
Probably either pancakes or a breakfast sandwich.
What are your favorite things that they serve at breakfast?
Pop-Tart and Cocoa Puffs.
What is your favorite lunch?
Pizza.
What don't they have on the menu that you wish that they would? Like, what would you like to try and see have offered here?
A Nutella sandwich.
A what?
A Nutella sandwich.
What suggestions would you have to make breakfast or lunch more awesome?
They need more milk options and they need more choices for the sides.
What other milk options would you like to have?
They should have like a banana flavor or. So my mom works here. She makes the best lunch ever, and there's other people that I know, and they make really good food. I like it.
What's your favorite food?
They're chicken nuggets.
Yeah. So when you eat this lunch here, how healthy do you feel it is? You get a lot of fruit.
When they have waffles for breakfast, I get the strawberries and the blueberries, and I eat them.
And so you eat breakfast here?
Yes.
Do you think if you didn't eat breakfast here, would you eat breakfast at home?
I guess.
Yeah.
Or probably if I didn't, I would ask my parents to take me to the depot.
Yeah. So what about lunch?
That we get to talk to our friends that's sitting next to us.
What's your favorite food?
Burritos.
Yeah. And do you go to breakfast here often?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite breakfast food?
The cinnamon rolls.
So do you go to breakfast here every day?
Well, not every day, but only sometimes.
Do you think the food here is healthy?
Yeah, because it doesn't taste like if you have peanut butter, it doesn't taste like regular peanut butter. It's like gluten free.
And what is your favorite? Do you like the milk?
No, not that much.
Not that much. Do you drink chocolate milk?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your favorite milk?
No almond milk.
Almond milk. Yeah. Do you think it'd be better if they had almond milk here? Yeah. So if you could add one thing to the lunch menu, what would you add?
Oh, seafood.
Yeah.
I'm in 9th grade.
And how? What do you think about the food? Like, what's the quality like?
Some of the food is pretty good most of the time, but there's sometimes it's just not as great.
Like
Pretty
when?
much. I'd say sometimes this it just tastes weird, and sometimes some of the fruits just aren't some of them are like kind of like bad quality, you know.
How exactly do you view the breakfast food? How do you like it?
I like it. I mean, it's my breakfast for the morning. Like, if I don't eat here, I'm not eating breakfast.
And compared to previously, has it improved?
In the year or like the past years?
Has it improved in the past year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the price is a good benefit because it's free, but I like it. I like their little bacon, egg, and cheeses.
I don't think they give you enough calories. I think they give you less than like what you're supposed to have, so it doesn't really fill you up.
It's definitely improved a lot. I like that they've added a lot more variety, and it's definitely a little bit more consistent too, in that they have these separate lines. You can always go in the middle. You have the line with all the pizza, things like that, and it's definitely an improvement in the quality too, and the food's definitely a lot better. There are a lot of healthier options, of course, because it's a school lunch, and so I think that helps overall in just they narrow down the selection a little, and so you have healthier foods to pick from.
And if you had a wish list or something you wanted to be added to school lunch, what would it be?
Ooh, I don't know. Different pizzas. It's the same. They go through kind of the same three. They're good, but a little more variety there.
Do you eat school lunch every day?
Every day.
And how do you feel about the food?
I think it's really good. I get a burrito every day. Super yummy. I get a big burrito and eat it all.
What are your options like?
Pretty diverse. Like there's a lot of different options. Like there's 2 meats, and then if you don't want a burrito, you can have pizza or like a burger or a chicken sandwich. So there's lots of options, and I think they're all really good.
And in terms of this year versus last year, what's the difference?
I would say it's like a 70% increase in quality of food.
And if you could add one thing to the menu, what would it be?
Lasagna.
Thank you. So as you can see, we welcomed all the all positives and constructive feedback. So we are going to take this information, and construct our menu for next school year. Let me see. I think I jumped too far. So this is just a snapshot of the menu that we are providing in the every school grades. Then, so wanted to share what's coming. So I'm going to spend the summer and focusing on training my team. Chartwells is sending a resource team. I'll have regional chef, 2 regional chefs coming in, training them on new menus. We are introducing some new recipes and training the staff on new cooking techniques. So you'll see some new menu items coming up in the next school year. Then we are going to continue our communication. We did a student survey last school year. We're going to do one coming up very soon. Recently, I have used a principal scorecard as a communication factor for getting some new feedbacks for the school menu items. So there'll be more communication coming up soon. So this is something I want to share with you. What's next year? What we are focusing on. So we talked about the training. That's going to be a number 1 priority. We are looking into expanding our a la carte options in high school, more menu items. That's very student driven. We did some feedbacks with students, so I got some new ideas from them. Then some new special programs, very kids driven special program, Discovery Kitchen. There'll be some cook-offs, some fun days. It'll be all on our menu page, so people know ahead of time what's coming up soon. Some district involvement. So we'll be focusing on upgrading our cafeteria and the kitchen with posters and communication. That was one thing during the survey students were asking for, education factor. They want to know what they're eating, why they're eating certain foods. So we're going to have some information in the cafeteria. And we'll have our own newsletters. We're going to have a social media campaign through Facebook, just separate for food service. Then again, surveys will happen, and Chartwells is working on a separate website just for communication factors. So I can directly communicate with the parents, get some feedbacks immediately, and I can respond to them as well. So that's all I have for you. If you guys have any questions.
Have you thought about surveying the staff that retained from us last year to this year to see their satisfaction of things like the process that you guys have brought in, the different kinds of foods that they've done? Have you gathered any of that information?
Staff as in food service staff? Or
Yes.
Yeah, so yes, I did. And we do this, we do a manager meeting every month, and I use that platform to get some feedbacks. So we did some when we first took over last year. So based on those feedback, we did some changes and why we want to do something, why not. So I always use that feedback. So.
Okay. And then do you track to see which meals are eaten more aggressively than other meals?
Yeah, so every week we keep track of the meal counts, and even I talk to the managers. They give us feedbacks, which trays came back or things like that. But we keep track of the numbers, which day is a heavier day than the other days, and we kind of analyze why. Maybe it's the weather, or maybe it's just the menu itself. Sure. And things. So we did change certain items based on that as well.
Okay, great.
I have a question. Extending special programs. What is a Discovery Kitchen, or what?
So it's a program created by Chartwell. So it's every month we'll be doing. Let's say if we will do an expose of yogurt. So it's a discovery. So we want the kids to discover why yogurt is good for you. So it's an education marketing program, educating them why raspberry yogurt. It's because of your energy. If it's a strawberry yogurt, so why we encourage them to eat healthier items. So that's what it's called, Discovery Kitchen. It's more of an education program for them to understand the ingredients and why we have those items on the menu.
So the smoothies on the 26th, that was all schools within the district that had the smoothies, or was it?
Except you. I didn't do Anthony and Warren yet, so that's why I'm working on that as well.
And the reason why I'm asking this is just because I've gotten some feedback. You also did a smoothie day sometime last week at Lawson, Wednesday or Thursday.
2 weeks ago, yeah. That was part of it, yeah.
Yes.
That was the same day.
was she saying? When I picked her up Thursday, she was saying they had a smoothie Thursday at the end of class, this past Thursday. So that wouldn't have been the 26th of April. So maybe the school made that in the classroom. I don't know. She said it was really, really great this time, Mom,
Oh, I see.
Grandma. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's a difference between the 2 days. So now we got to figure out
Oh, I see.
what when.
Yeah. So the smoothie that we did, the one that we did, couldn't remember the
26th.
date. Yeah, maybe
Yeah, I
26th. So we had a chef come in and we did a fresh smoothie day, and so it was not in a classroom. We had a separate table. And
Right.
So
Did they happen to use a protein powder in that? That was some feedback I had gotten.
No, it
Kind
was-
of tasted powdery.
no, it was fresh
Fresh
yogurt,
fruit
milk.
yogurt?
Yeah. We did a plant-based and a dairy-based.
Okay. Maybe it could, okay.
The feedback that I received is from the middle school. I'll just share two of those with you. This one says, the lunch here is terrible, so bad they should be ashamed. I feel bad for the kids. Some of them are so hungry, it's just sad. And then this other one, which I think everybody received in April, said, New Year, same problem. The student was in 8th grade, and so that's kind of why I'm also referring to the middle school. They were saying the food quality hadn't changed from a prior feedback that was received in January. And the fruit comment is probably similar because this said they bit into an apple that was rotten on the inside. And food was like hard that wasn't supposed to be hard. Or underdone food. And they felt like no one cares about what the kids are eating during the day or them being able to grow up with nutrients. And they felt like most of the food was not consumable and they had to go without. And they felt like we didn't have decent standards of providing edible food for students. That's all the feedback I have.
Was there any specific on items that was mentioned?
Other than the apple, this time they didn't send any pictures. In January, they had sent pictures, but
Thank you. So the website that I was talking about, that's something I'm going to use it very strongly. Because I'm going to encourage parents and students the day off when they have that bad experience to communicate the day off. And so that way it'll directly come to me and I can investigate. If I can answer right away, I'll do an investigation what the issue is. So we can get into specifics so we don't continue that error again. So that'll be the focus. Regarding the Apple situation, I do want to take this platform to address if there's any bad food. If a student do come across, they are welcome to come back in the kitchen, in the cafeteria, and not just the manager, just the staff members mentioning, hey, I got a bad food. Could I change it? And they will do that for them. No one will.
Okay.
They will not say no. So.
How is the staffing going specifically at the middle campus, at Warren campus?
So it's in progress. We are still struggling a little bit, but it's in progress. It's just the sheer volume of people we are serving versus what we have. So, but it's an ongoing thing. The staff that we have, I'm very grateful. They are hanging in there. They are, regardless of, I keep talking about stress, but they have a very positive attitude. So I'm very grateful for that. But it's still in progress. So they're continuing to get some good people there.
And I know that wage was a concern when I did the kitchen tour with Dr. Adams, and so I wasn't sure how our district compares to other kitchen staff rates.
So I believe it's competitive. I don't know how much detail I can get into, but it is competitive. And Warren being a bigger school, whenever we do have to, based on experience, if we get somebody with good experience, I don't want to lose them. So that's something I will have a conversation, see if I can get somebody in.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So if I could, you said when you originally started, you had staffing of 23 of a team and 4 from Chartwell's, and now you're down 21 from a team, but 17 from Chartwell's. For you to have your perfect staffing, what would those numbers look like?
For the perfect staffing, again, this is
knowing the kitchens as well as you can know them in a
Sure.
year, logistics change.
Sure. This is just not on paper, just me, putting all-star team. It's out 50 is a number that
50?
yeah. But
That's not unreasonable for that number of schools.
so it's based on how the kitchens are designed and everything. So that's always. But again, like I said, it's I'm going to keep continuing recruiting because I lose people every other week or things depending on their performance and things like. But 50, I would say it's a good number.
I'm not one to want to shake things up because I know we shook something up to change to this dynamic that we're using with Chartwells right now. And I know everything takes growth and recalibration to get the right fit for everything. I know I did talk to them when I went to nationals, and I'm glad to hear that some of the feedback that I've given them has been translated back into this meeting now. That Discovery Kitchen will be coming into action next
Sure.
school year because that mood food was one of the important things that I knew drew me in over the years. And that not them just learning about it, but actually eating those mood foods. So I'm excited to see that coming and the contest and things like that. I think that's another piece of the puzzle that helps put everything together and makes them more interactive with their food that they are eating. So I am happier with that. Is there room to grow?
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we none of us can kid ourselves. There's still room to grow, but I'm going to have the utmost faith in that because I know how important it is for our kids and everything.
I have faith too. I'm excited about next year. So even my team as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any further discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Chartwells.
Yep, sorry. Mr. Carney, go ahead.
Well, first of all, there's no perfect food program in the world, probably. And the other thing is there's probably not many households in Leavenworth that have menus for the week for kids. And my only thing with the food service is that might be the best meal kids get in this community. And I'd just like to see it maybe improve a little bit.
Thank you, sir. Did you want?
Was that a question?
It wasn't
No,
a
it's
question. It
fine.
was a
Oh, I
statement.
see.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve Chartwells for the next school year with the new pricing per meal as required. And do you need this total here of?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Because that would just make me want to cry. But
Second.
So a motion by Ms. Murphy, a second by Ms. Price. All those in favor? Mr. Carney?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Thank you. 6-1. All right, moving on. Consideration of the ESSER Smartboards adoption.
All right. Come up to the podium next, Mr. Sifford and Mr. Perez.
Good evening. We're seeking approval to buy 219 smartboards. This project's fully funded with ESSER dollars. This purchase will allow us to create consistency across all schools, minimizing confusion for students when transitioning between grades. We did speak with almost every teacher we could. Tony actually did. So we talked to 143 teachers face to face. Out of all those, 11 teachers said no, they don't want a smartboard. And then we had 4 that said they had no opinion either way. So we do recommend accepting the low bid of $929,985 from KCAB. And I am ready for questions.
Did the no's give you a reason?
What's that?
You said you had 11 no's?
Yes.
Did they give a reason?
They sure did. So, at Warren, we had 3 no's. 2 were worried about the cart's footprint, a little large. When we went into rooms,
Okay.
there was room in each of the rooms for the cart.
So space.
One was worried about reliability,
We've had them at the
Intermediate center.
Lawson and Intermediate Center for 3 years now. And so,
Okay.
that's just ongoing, something new. At LHS, again, 3 people said, I would like to change. Sorry.
Just something different.
Yeah, it's
Have
just
to
something different.
learn how to use it.
Settings and Old projectors.
Okay.
3 worried about the reliability out there also. And then 1 was worried about the footprint.
Okay.
So are you suggesting that we need to replace the ones at Lawson and the intermediate? Those are the 2 places that do not need to be
Correct.
replaced. These will be compatible with that already.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
So if a teacher doesn't want it, they're forced to have it. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would not like to use the word force with our teachers. But
I
yes,
asked if that's what I'm hearing.
for purposes of consistency, we would like to see the same thing in all classrooms.
Okay.
Again, we did it in here. I don't know if you remember, but this had projectors in it. We took them down because of the graininess and we wanted the TVs. Now these aren't interactive, but you can read them a lot clearer, which is what we are trying to do for them. So,
I wouldn't want to force anything on someone that didn't want it or didn't feel like it was a good fit for their classroom. It sounds like most of the staff want the new piece of equipment.
So my question is this is adding more technology pieces into the classrooms that are potentially going to need service. Are you going to need to grow your department or can your staff handle the additional devices?
So we can handle it. It's honestly no different than a projector, kind of. So instead of just shooting it that way, you're putting it on a TV screen, and now you have interactive capabilities. The Smartboards do come with a 5-year warranty. So if anything wacky that we didn't cause, it's covered. We should have extras sitting in like libraries or collab areas that if a TV does go down, we'll be able to pull it from there so a teacher's not missing instruction time.
And what are you going to do with all the old projection?
We'll try asset recovery to bring some money back into our department.
And is Esther going to want to try and grab that money back as like, wait a minute, you got money back from the money you spent?
I've not heard of any districts having that issue.
Are there any additional questions?
How many Esther dollars do we still have that we need to spend right now?
Beth, I don't know if you have a running total probably right in front of you, but
Because I'll be honest, it just seems like we were just scrambling to see where we can hurry up, plug that money in and spend it just so we don't have to return it. And it's still taxpayer money. Taxpayers paid to get those extra funds nationally for it to be
Sure.
distributed.
So I would say this conversation started many months ago.
Yes.
And the other thing is we've known that September 30 of 2024 was our deadline.
Right.
We've known that for probably 3 fiscal years now.
Correct.
So Beth, would you like to speak about, I mean, you've had some things in motion for months now, correct?
Correct. This is truly the last ESSER large purchase. Everything else will be summer school and retention stipends that have already come
Okay.
to the board.
Okay. Thank you.
And did you say earlier that this was a purchase that was being considered anyway? I mean, at some point that it was.
Yeah,
something
I'm
that
going to
we were
look to
moving
Ryan and
towards
Tony, but
anyway?
I mean, they eventually
So-
would have said, hey, we need to replace these and we need to come out of capital outlay for that.
Yeah, so our projector's around 7 years old, average. So if we had to do that with capital outlay, you're looking at probably $650 to up to $950 a projector. And that would be from our budget for capital outlay.
And our projectors are less quality and not as interactive as what
Correct.
the
Yes.
devices are that we're going to be getting.
Yes.
And you expect about 7-year use out of these?
7 to 10.
7
Yes.
to 10?
Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 219 Smartboards for the amazingly low price of $929,985. $929,985.
Second.
So motion by Ms. Murphy, seconded by Ms. Reed. All those in favor? Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Carney?
Aye.
7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, thank you for your efforts to get that here tonight. Just for everybody's awareness, Mr. Ramirez spent 2 entire days visiting with every single staff member.
That's what I was going to say. That was totally awesome. I
Yep.
love to hear that you guys actually met with each teacher and in person. I really loved that. And I loved the feedback, knowing why they didn't want it and the numbers. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, 6-1?
Yeah.
Okay, as promised, we're going to continue to bring this to you monthly. If for nothing else, a progress update. So do you have that attachment in front of you? It hopefully matches what's on the screen for those in the audience.
Okay.
So this is what I call the timeline draft, emphasis on draft from DLR Group. For everybody's awareness, DLR Group is our district architect of choice, I believe, for a number of years now. And so they were engaged probably 2.5 years ago. We asked them to dust off what was already done and then move forward with really what we're at this point is the conceptual planning phase. And so as I discussed with you last time, what I want is for you to be aware that we are spending money as we go through this design phase. And in some cases, some things are predicated upon others, one of which would be the soil sample, right? And so we've got to have the geological testing to confirm whether or not the initial site selection will even work or not. And so what I don't want there to be is heartburn after the fact if we decide not to move forward, that we have spent a certain amount of dollars on design and professional services. Does
Isn't
that
that
make sense?
soil sample within the limits that the district's allowed to spend without board approval?
That is accurate. Yep.
Okay.
So, but just in full transparency, we discussed the $20,000 limit initially last month. Your architect will get there at some point, just by the way of principal hours, right? And so then you'll have other charges along the way. So I believe it was in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000 was the estimate for the geological testing. We are happy to move forward with that because again, several things would be predicated upon whether or not that is an actual site worthy and able to be built upon. So,
Sounds good.
okay. So then you'll see a progression all the way through. I think it's August, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to read you every line.
Yep.
But that would be if we were to follow that, you could move at that pace if you wanted to.
And then the dollars that are being spent, are they coming out of capital?
Yes.
Everything's charged at 16, correct? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Potter? Oh, thank you. Yes. So June, how about 10, I believe?
June 10.
You will have one or more representatives from DLR present. Any questions or otherwise? Okay. Well,
Is
oh.
the resignation of our Matt Dedeke changing any of our trajectory?
I would say yes, because you're losing 24 years of amazing experience.
Right.
So I want to be completely candid. When you lose that, things are going to slow.
And are we actively seeking his replacement?
Yep.
It's been posted.
Been posted for 2-ish weeks, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
wealth of experience will have an impact on this project as well as anything else. All right, that was just informational tonight. So
Okay.
I am done unless there's any other questions. Thank you.
Next item, 7.1, the strategic plan highlight.
And before they come up, I believe Mrs. Wilson is needing to exit, so we'll just need to record the
Okay.
exit. So Mrs. Wilson, is that accurate?
Yes, that is. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you'll be exiting at 7:21 p.m.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night. Work.
Sorry.
Good evening. We are here to review this portion of the strategic plan that is scheduled for this month, and that is our Sabres data. So to give you just a brief description of what Sabres is, we have Sabres and My Sabres. And the Sabres is a assessment that teachers fill out for students, the students that they have in their class, and then My Sabres is an assessment that students fill out on themselves. SABRS addresses 3 areas: social behavior, academic behavior, and then emotional behavior. And so that is also part of the FastBridge platform that we use for academics as well. Here, I'll let you. So just some historical data on participation, and there's going to be a couple of things to note here. You can see we have lots of great participation as far as MySavers, which is the student assessment, the one that the students fill out on themselves, until we got to fall of 22. And if you remember correctly, that's when legislation went into effect that students had to have a parent opt in to be able to complete that assessment. So you see that data, that participation data went down quite a bit starting fall of 22. We've jumped back up this fall. We added it to the enrollment process. And so we were able to capture a good portion of students through and parents through that enrollment process. We did have a great decrease for spring of this year because there was no way to capture like we did with enrollment. We have a lot of participation in enrollment because parents of their students to go to school. We don't have that process as we move into spring, so that's something that we continue to evaluate and try to find ways to recapture those families. If you remember the legislation, it only lasts for a certain period of time, that opt-in does. It doesn't cover the whole year. So to be able to do that spring assessment, we have to have the second opt-in. Our historical data as it relates to the teacher ratings, the green refers to students that have low risk. The yellow refers to some risk, and then the red is high risk. We did not add high risk until fall of 21. And so at fall of 21, you see what we would consider students being at risk, combining the yellow and the red to form one at-risk category. So you can see that over the years, we've ebbed and flowed just a little bit, with this year being 27% at risk.
So based on this data, we then dove into the areas of concern to see where the biggest areas fell. And so when we broke out that data, we were able to see that amongst teachers in the district, 22% of our students rated at risk in the area of social. 34% were at risk in the academic realm, and then 20% were at risk in the emotional realm. So the teachers are most concerned right now with the academic risk. And so when we look at what does that actually include, that would be things such as students' ability to be interested in academics, their preparedness, that executive functioning skill, that they produce acceptable work, that they have independent work skills, they're able to be not distracted, and then also looking at student engagement in the classroom. So of all of the 3 areas, our teachers do indicate that student academics are the highest risk for them.
So then again, I just want to kind of show you this historical district participation data as Rebecca goes through each of those, just to bring back what it looks like when we have to abide by that legislation. We see that big drop in participation, but then being able to try to work around that with the enrollment piece, we can see that big jump back in the student participation for the fall of this year. Student rating, so this is the MySavers. So students are rating themselves on how they feel about their social emotional well-being. Again, high risk didn't become a category until fall of 21, but the same breakdowns. Green is low risk, yellow is some risk, red is high risk. And then you can see that students have rated themselves pretty consistently over the years. That we've been doing this with the high risk and low risk, high risk and some risk, about the same. One of the things that we always talk about when we talk about students rating themselves is the importance of really looking at those high risks. All the risks are important, but we really try to focus on high risk and some risk, because we need to capture those students. Those are the things that the students are saying about themselves. And so we want to make sure that we are checking in with those students and putting interventions in place for them.
So when we take a look at that data, you can look at a deep dive in, you'll see that 29% of our students identified themselves that are at risk in the social category. 38% of students identified themselves at risk in the academic category, and then 39% of students rated themselves of at risk in emotional. So the students are most concerned with emotional risk district-wide, which is those general feelings of feeling sad, feeling fearful, worried, those resiliency skills, feeling withdrawn, or maybe they have just a negative outlook on their education and life. It is important to note, though, that 38% is significant. Obviously, it's only 1% less than the emotional. There were 3 buildings that the academic actually rose higher than the emotional, and those 3 buildings were David Brewer, Henry Leavenworth, and Richard Warren Intermediate, where they actually rated themselves higher in the academic realm. All right.
Questions for us?
What do you contribute the emotional percentage to?
For my savers? We talked about this today. Teachers, I think. Go ahead.
I think it's important to know, so when we think of the difference between the social and then emotional, social is going to be those external factors. So those are things that teachers can more easily see. Those are the kids that are going to just be displaying behaviors that I can see as a teacher. Whereas the emotional ones tend to be things that teachers really can't see unless you're extremely in tune to students. You know, Johnny is acting a little more withdrawn than normal, or he has a little more sonder than he usually does. Those are going to be those internalizing. So students oftentimes are aware that they're feeling that way, and the teacher may not know those unless the student is coming to them and saying, hey, I'm sad today, or hey, I don't feel right. Whereas those social factors are going to be things. The academic are also factors that teachers can easily see, like Johnny's distracted. Johnny's not producing well in class. Johnny is disrupting class frequently. Johnny's not socializing the way he's supposed to with his peers. Those are things that we can see outwardly, where that emotional piece, it really is, unless I said the teacher is extremely in tune to every student in their class and knows every student very well, they're probably not picking up on a lot of those factors.
Especially if you have a student who internalizes a lot of what's
Sure.
going on in their life. When we have students that teachers have not flagged as a concern for
Sure.
emotional, but the student themselves has flagged.
Right.
We recognize that those students are students who internalize a lot of what's going on for them.
Right.
So,
I was just wondering, as we continue to have mental health struggles,
Yeah.
If we're able to identify what we can do as a district to help mental health, if we've identified what maybe we're doing to hurt mental health, if we're kind of doing a deep dive and trying to figure out specifics, or just looking at specifics, statistics rather, was kind of my question.
So we take the buildings, each building takes this data, breaks it into some of the categories that we talked about, dives into that, and then groups students based upon their need, and then we implement interventions that's needed for those students.
Thank you.
Do you ever think that we contribute to, I don't know, I'm just thinking of my own son and the vocabulary that comes out of his mouth as far as like assessing his own mental health. And I just wonder if maybe we're contributing to this is becoming a circle of, maybe I wasn't thinking about that, but since you asked me, maybe I'm not doing so well. Maybe I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem, it seems,
in their mouth, and then now they are connecting with that. So
Right.
I never thought about being sad before, but now you give me the thought, maybe that's what I am. And so I think where we really dive into that is by using our SEL curriculum and really diving in and really giving that explicit instruction on what do those things actually mean, and how does that actually feel versus just, my son might say, I'm sad.
but is there a lot of
evidence?
evidence that makes kids healthier and happier? And I don't know, because it seems like we're like stuck in this cycle of, constantly ruminating in what's going on in our head, and how do I feel about that, and constantly being asked about that, and I don't, at what point is it not helpful?
Sure. So as far as this assessment, it's only given twice a year. So if I wouldn't say that we're constantly talking about these things.
But we
and-
kind of are an SEL curriculum, right? I mean, we're
If it's- if
encouraging a
it's,
lot of this.
Not necessarily. A lot of what we deal with in social emotional curriculum is how do I regulate myself when I'm not okay. So if I am sad, how can I go ahead and still go about my day without losing all of the things that are coming in at school? So how am I able to still get instruction if I'm sad? Who do I reach out to when I'm sad? If my friend next to me is having a hard day, how do I continue to have an okay day when that person? So really trying to understand how to regulate themselves when they are having those emotions. So even if it's someone who's perseverating on those things, we are working on how to go ahead and continue on your day, how to be okay, and still manage through your day. We all experience bad days, and we're all still able to manage through our day and do the things, and that's what we're trying to teach our students.
It's those resiliency skills to get you through the day so that if I feel sad, I don't shut down and now I can't be a productive classmate. It's what strategies now do I have and the teachers have taught me so that I can keep myself re-regulated, reintegrate back into the classroom, and I can be okay with that.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, item 8.1, the superintendent report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wouldn't that be 9.1 since we?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, 9.1.
No, it'd be 8.1. The three we
Yep,
just
yep,
numbered.
yep.
That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Varvel, Dr. Rettelberger. All right, I'll be brief tonight. First and foremost, if you haven't heard already, but I'm sure you have, we're very proud to report that both of our JROTC's all-female team, the Cavalry Angels and the Co-Ed Pioneer Guard team, represented LHS quite well at the U.S. Army Cadet Command JROTC National Championships in Florida. After 3 straight days of competition, both those teams finished in second place in the nation. And so we'll look to invite those teams to the June board meeting for recognition. This Thursday is Nettie Hartnett's 100th anniversary, believe it or not. That building has stood for 10 decades. So here on the 16th, the community is invited to Nettie Hartnett's An Evening in the Archives. This event is free and open to all the public. We'll start at 4 o'clock and be done by 5:30 p.m. Finally, as you know, congratulations to all of our seniors and families as we are simply 5 days away from graduation at this point, believe it or not. I know several of you have a senior in the room. So I'm going to go through some of our planned activities and recognition as we celebrate those graduating seniors and the Pioneer class of 2024. There should be something also on your tabletop from Mrs. Clark that is specific to you as a board member. So first and foremost, the Friday parades. We'll have a parade of graduates at our elementary schools at 10:30 a.m., which I think is a phenomenal way for not only our youngest learners to connect to what success looked like for them, but also I think it's a tribute to the elementary teachers that played a role in them getting to that graduation stage. We then do our graduation parade. It starts at 6 p.m. It begins at Warren and proceeds north along 10th Avenue to LHS. On Saturday, graduation will begin at 10:30 a.m. As of now, our plan is to be outdoors at Pioneer Stadium, weather permitting, of course. If we have to, we will pivot inside to the main gymnasium, which obviously limits the number of attendees. So I want to make it clear to everybody regarding our procedures. The weather call will be a one-time irrevocable decision that will occur at 3 o'clock p.m. on Friday. That allows our crews, and I'm talking multiple crews here from technology to facilities to maintenance, to be able to pivot and plan accordingly. It also allows us time to notify the families that will be affected by that. Again, I want to make it clear, it is our intent to be outside. But as you know, we are not in control of weather. The graduation ceremony, regardless, will be live streamed on our district's YouTube channel, Leavenworth USD 453, where it will remain archived permanently there for on-demand viewing. That is all I have.
A couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So the parade of seniors, where they go back to their elementary, is that what you're talking about? The seniors that used to attend Lawson, where do they go? Are they still going to go back to Lawson?
I do not know
So
that
where
answer.
do they go? Where's their home now?
They have already been sorted out by the high school.
Okay.
I'm just aware of the 3 elementary schools.
Okay.
And I apologize. That's the first I've heard that question, but it is a valid question.
Because Mr. Price is graduating and he
Sure.
attended
So he
Lawson
would
for
have been
his
a
whole
Lawson attendee
his
all those years
whole
ago.
career. So
Here's another one. Not all of our students attended. Many of our students attended the schools
Understood.
on Fort through elementary up through ninth grade of Patton.
Yep.
Would they get time for dismissal if they're doing something like that there?
I'm not aware of any plans because we've got also those that are international and,
Right,
and those
right.
that came from another district. So I do realize that not everybody is impacted in that
Mm-hmm.
same way. So
Right.
I do apologize, but we are just worried about our 3 elementaries.
Yeah, and we did have the international thing last week.
Sure.
and then how will the 3 p.m. call be announced?
I'm looking at Mr. Potter.
So if outside,
Okay.
text, email, other items.
Okay.
So think of it like a snow day. If we don't
Yeah.
say anything,
It's
we're
good
going
to go.
outside.
I've received questions about like a track program that was purchased by the district. Is this a good time for you to speak about that, or
Track program.
like maybe something that you own or a business that you own that is track related?
Sure. I do have a timing company. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Would you like to speak about that publicly?
Sure. I guess what are the questions?
The questions that have been brought to me are, what was the amount? What are the other companies that provide or don't provide a similar product?
Is
Those kind of things.
this a personal thing of yours
Correct.
that
Yep.
you're speaking of that has nothing to do with the district, or?
No, it doesn't. Well, I would, maybe a better way to handle this is, because they're having questions about that, maybe that could go on the agenda next time, and you could just say that publicly.
Sure.
Unless.
Is it
I'm just-
Yeah, I'm
appropriate?
perfectly happy with that as well, if we want to put it on the agenda for next month.
I'm not sure what the board agenda item would be though.
The personal matters of our superintendent is not board business.
Except that it is board business because it is district business, right? It is your business that you.
So you're saying the
are-
district is paying Dr. Adams for a personal service?
The district is paying Dr. Adams for a service, yes. That is correct.
Sure. So do we want to discuss this tonight or? I
Is
don't
there-
know I don't know what the
Is there-
agenda
is-
item would be.
Is there a question, I guess, well, 2 things we need to talk about. If there's something regarding a question of a conflict of interest between Dr. Adams and the district, I believe that is,
Not necessarily, but it's come up, so maybe a clarification would be good.
Yes, clarification.
if there's something, the superintendents or any employees, if their business outside or endeavors or whatever their personal stuff is outside the district, if it's not affecting district time, their job at the district or anything else, it's not relevant. I mean, it's if there's a question of, and I'll use an example, if I was a district employee and I had a business and the district was going to contract with that business, there would be issues. But if that's not a consideration now, there's no, I don't understand what the discussion is about. Maybe that's something we need to
I received a
schedule
question as to whether the district was in contract with his business. I didn't have the information, so all I knew was to ask for that information.
Well, that information doesn't have to be out in the board level though.
Okay. I was just more or less trying to make sure that we had transparency. We weren't hiding anything, just to make it public transparency level of whatever the interaction is, because I still don't know what it is. So.
Sure. So let's just
And
hash it out here.
Well, you're not under any, I want to be very clear, you're not under any obligation to do that.
Sure. No, I want to.
And also anything regarding, and we've talked about this in general, anything that would potentially talk about potential conflict of interest that would rise to the level of anything that anyone on the board would consider to be a personnel action regarding Dr. Adams or any other employee we treated, should be treated in executive session only.
Okay.
That's not up for open discussion, just as every single employee in the entire district.
I was just assuming if taxpayer dollars went to it, it was not pay related.
I think
It
we
would
need
be
to have
public.
that information beforehand, not the investigation being done on the board in open session, because again, there are potential things that are either personal in nature or potentially could be considered a personnel matter, which must be done in executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are we finished with the superintendent report?
That was it.
Thank you. It is time for executive session for negotiations. I would like to add a bio break in, please, prior. So a total of 15 minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to move, we go into executive session to discuss negotiations pursuant to the exception for the employer-employee negotiations under the Kansas Open Meeting Act, also known as COMA, and that we return to open session in this room 15 minutes from now, which is 7:42, so that'll be 7:57. We'd like to invite Dr. Adams, Amy Sloan, Beth Maddox, and Board Attorney Robert Hengela.
A second.
Okay. Motion by Murphy, second by Overby. All those in favor? Mr. Carney?
I am in favor.
Thank you. 6-0. Moving on, executive session for non-elected personnel. Go
Madam
into it.
President, I
Yep.
move we go into executive session to discuss the non-elected personnel pursuant to the exception under the Kansas Open Meeting Act, known as COMA, in order to protect the privacy interest of the individual or individuals to be discussed, that we return to open session in this room. Did you want the 5 or the 10?
10.
10 in 10 minutes. That will be at 8:07, and we are inviting Dr. Adams, Amy Sloan, and Board Attorney Robert Engela.
Second.
So motion by Mrs. Murphy, second by Mrs. Price. All those in favor? And Mr. Carney, we left in the room, so we will put him 5-0. Sorry, Mr. Carney?
Board is read to us.
Hello,
We're back in session, Mike.
can you hear you?
We're back in session. Is there a second?
Hang on a second. I can't hear you. Well, it's you or me. I haven't touched my phone, so.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Murphy, a second by Ms. Reed.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
And I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor of the staffing report, Mr. Carney?
Aye.
6-0. Okay, upcoming meeting dates. Where is the virtual event for the senior honors night being posted? Okay, so it's already been recorded. It will be a live event. Okay, if we could have that information. Okay. And then graduation parade. If you guys haven't been to the graduation parade, it is really fun. Please participate. Come line from Warren to the high school on 10th Street. Bring any devices you have to make noise and let the seniors that participate know that we're there. Graduation, half day of school on the 22nd, and then we are out. So the 22nd is our last day. It's a half day. We'll dismiss after lunch. Okay. And then our next board meeting is the 10th of June at 6 o'clock here. And moving on to unscheduled patron input. I should read again what is happening. The main thing is there's several people that have put in for unscheduled patron input. Please make sure that your comments do not include the names of students or staff, or you will be asked to stop speaking. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and I will call you up in order of the order that they are given here. You will be given a 15-second notice to end your speaking. First up is Barry Gardner. The timer will begin when you start speaking, sir.
Old man time. All right, thank you. Board, my name is Barry Garner. Had 30 years of federal law enforcement time. Retired in July 2020. I believe that's the reason why I've been volunteered to bring this information to the board, because I have the time and the parents that have concerns. A lot of them don't have that time, so I'm volunteered to bring this information to you. The information that I'd like to bring to you guys is a grave concern that some parents that are parents of basketball players at the Leavenworth High School. Grave concern. These parents are parents of color, our students of color. And what we want to bring to your attention is how they have been treated during their time. We're talking about past basketball players, present basketball players, students that want to play basketball that changed their mind because they've been so discouraged. Specifically, not using names of head basketball coaches at Leavenworth. They have had these concerns for so long. And I think they've had enough of their children coming home and complaining, emotionally disturbed. Some have come to a point where they don't want even to participate in a sport that they loved pretty much probably some of these kids all their life. They don't want to play basketball anymore. Specifically deriving from the experience with the head coaches there. Now, I had opportunity to compile some information that the parents have voiced, and I just want to, since we have a 3-minute limit here, I just wanted to go over some topics here that their concerns are and what they have been experiencing.
15 seconds.
That's it. That's fast. Okay. Some of these grievances are actually Dr. Adams had an opportunity to talk to him about and present to him. So 3
Thank you,
minutes. That's a long time. So thank you for my 3 minutes. So I hope you guys get an opportunity to investigate anything that I didn't get an opportunity to say.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Kayla Martin.
Hi, my name is Kayla Martin. I am a equally proud and concerned parent of a child at Warren Intermediate, a daughter. I have since this morning, filed a police report for my daughter. I I have sent emails to the school board, requested my daughter be changed in classes. She has been repeatedly sexually touched by other boys, one specific boy in her class for months now. She comes home crying and says she can't do this anymore. She has an IEP, and of course, as you all know, there's testing for that. She's at a much higher risk. I had our IEP meeting, and the school official asked what the problem was. I explained, and he told me now is not the time. I would like to know, when is the time? When I called the police, I had to swallow the fact that they told me that my child's a victim of a child crime. I ask that you guys please look at the policies for this. There's children that are going behind, that are being left out because of the policies. My daughter has stepped up and requested herself to file a report because she knows that there's other girls that are going through this. And she herself, at 12 years old, has chosen to step up. I request the school board look into this. It's not fair. My daughter can't gain an education and unfortunately is falling severely behind. I ask that all of you think about this. Would you be able to learn in that kind of environment? I know I can't. I can't ask my daughter to. I have requested so many meetings. I get told that I'm going to get a call back. I never get a call back. I've sent an official email months ago about this to the school board involved in the Warren Intermediate, everyone. I got a message back stating that I should understand that there's short staff within the building and police, and that I should just understand and be compassionate. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I can't. I can't understand this. I can't understand why my daughter, 8 days before school, has finally been moved to another class when unfortunately the specific child was moved to this class because of sexually touching other children and was moved to another class. We're just doing the same. My daughter unfortunately protected herself
15 seconds.
and was given a write-up because of this. I ask, are we silencing our girls within our policies? Please look at this. Thank you.
Next up, Elijah Resch.
On February 1st, 2019, the Boy Scouts of America allowed their first collection of women into their program. I was one of those young women, a 7th grader starting out in Troop 6166 in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. I knew that joining Scouts would allow me to expand my knowledge and abilities as I made my way up the ranks in the program, and make my way up I did over a period of 4.5 years. My name is Eliza Resch, and I'm a member of the Eagle Scout class of 2023 and the Leavenworth High School class of 2024. As I worked my way up the ranks, I learned very valuable lessons about citizenship, respect, and dedication to the welfare of others and the country. I also learned to stand up for what I believe is right. I, as have so many before me, worked so incredibly hard to earn this cord over my shoulders. We simply wish to be able to display our hard work and dedication to the welfare of our country and the people around us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, that concludes unscheduled patron input. Next up is board member comments. Ms. Murphy?
Okay, wow. So this kind of changed the course. I'm really saddened to hear about what's going on at Warren, because I happen to know personally 3 children over many years that have had that happen at the high school. And nothing was done. And I was even told one of them was pretty, they should get used to it. So I can see that culture hasn't changed over the years. It's only progressed, and it's happening in younger grades. So it was very hard for me to hear that. Getting beyond that, I was hoping that we come to work on policies and to help minimize these kinds of risks. I wanted to say how happy I was that I was able to attend the JROTC Rewards Night. It was a smaller outcome than normal. I don't know what was on everybody's schedule, but there were 3 board members there and 1 state rep. There wasn't much of other participation throughout the community on that. But the kids were still excited and they got their accolades, and we're happy to bestow their new ranks on their predecessors or their incoming. Great job for all the teams that went down to Florida. We're very proud of them as well. I would like to make a note that we sat there and say the last day of school is on the 22nd. That does not pertain to Lawson. Their last day of school is the 19th of June, and that's a half day. So please make sure you remember that on your schedules. And thank you.
Ms. Price?
Last month has been very busy as we get ready to go to graduation, and so I have some shout outs for some awesome student events that happened. So Almost Maine is the spring showcase. That was amazing. It was always great to see what our kids can do. It's always amazing to see what they can do when they all get together. I got to attend the Ella Just Fed Star Wars Cafe Day, and that's another one of my favorite events because it just shows what our kids can do, and they are just absolutely amazing. One young man remembered me from last year and was very excited that I was back. So we had a great conversation about Yoda and some others. Anyway, and then the 4th grade poetry slam at David Brewer, Miss Knockbar's class. Thank you very much. I had a blast. It was amazing. There's some future speakers right there in that class. I'm sure other classes had a great experience with it too. And then I got to attend the 3rd grade economy day at Henry Leavenworth. And I will tell you that we've got some serious entrepreneurs in the making there. And there's some serious kids with some great sales skills. I was greatly impressed by what they could do as a 3rd grader. There's no way I would have done that at 8 or 9 years old. Also today I got to witness something really awesome. At the high school, we had 13 auto tech students receive ASE certifications. And if you're not aware of that, that is some really hard stuff to do. And on top of that, out of the 13, 5 gained their master technician status. That is the most we have ever had. We've only had 9 in the last 10 years total, and we had 5 alone this year. So I'm exceptionally proud of all of those students because that really takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication on their part. And it also speaks to the quality of our CTE programs. And I so want to thank Mr. Bergen a lot for making sure that those students basically can perform at a level that earns that certification. And that's a national certification. That's just not something in Kansas or what have you. And then the last one is teacher appreciation. For me, teacher appreciation happens all the time, although the last couple of weeks was, a specified date for it. And it's never too late to say thank you to your teachers. So if you didn't have a chance to thank your teachers, do that. Thank your kids' teachers. But I just want to do a shout out to my teachers because they're still out there and kicking. This week's Brown, Mrs. Thompson, Dr. Densler, and Dr. Stevens. And I know that they watch. They've told me. So thank you for what you've done. It's been several decades since I was in your classroom, but you made an impact, and I remember you, and I thank you for what you do. And I thank all of our teachers for what you do every day for our kids. It really means a lot. And you never know. They might be calling you out in the future too. So thank you, and it's always a great day to be a pioneer.
Ms. Reed?
Okay, so I want to thank everyone that spoke in before meeting and after meeting comments. We obviously have our work cut out for us. Hopefully we were able to handle some of that tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to work on the items that we weren't able to handle tonight. The JROTC awards, as always, were wonderful. The Henry Economy Day was cool. This year it was in more of a common area and still in the classrooms instead of in the classrooms. So it was different vibe, but all the kiddos were extremely excited and great at putting what they made out there to sell. So that's always a great experience. And then the retirement celebration, I love seeing some of those folks kind of every year. It seems like someone brings a similar person that someone else brought the previous year as a guest or whatever that I don't get to otherwise see. So, and then the music that was provided at the retirement celebration was phenomenal. So just wanted to shout out to that department and those students involved, the staff with that. I wish they would have played through dinner. It was really great and sang so. And then the Star Wars Cafe Day staff that are involved with that are always super welcoming, and they do a great job at communicating that event. And I'm always happy to know about it and be able to go and support them and see some of my favorite students every year there. And then just thank everybody that came to the meeting tonight. And I think that's it.
Ms. Overby?
Not to keep everybody, and everybody's kind of touched on a lot of the events that all of us have attended. But I just do want to give a shout out to the special ed cafe. My daughter was one of the originals when they first started that, so it's been fun to see that develop over the years, and it's always they do such an amazing job, and the kids are so excited about it. It's always fun to go to that. And the other thing that is on my mind is the JRTC awards. Like Ms. Murphy was saying, we seem to have fewer cadets, and we had less of a turnout than I remember in years past with my own kids. But and it's a long evening, and it's great to see everyone receive their awards. But the best part of the night, and the thing that sticks with me, is when they pass that leadership to, or when they announce the leadership for the upcoming year, and just watching those kids just pop up and run out of the stands, and that's just amazing to see. And I love it so much, because there's one thing that that I really want to encourage in this district, and that is that empowerment and that leadership we see from our Eagle Scouts, and that confidence to reach for the next thing and take on more responsibility, because that's what puts meaning in our life, is accepting that responsibility and being a leader. So that was a lot of fun, and looking forward to graduation, and that's all.
Mr. Kearney?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it kind of shut off for a second. One thing I got to say, I mean, I know Mr. Murphy said there was only 3 board members at that event, and that's sad, but most people have, at least most people I know, have a lot of kids and various things, and it's hard to make every event, but on the flip side, I've been to every baseball game. I've never seen a board member at any of the baseball games unless they were in camouflage. So, and I really think it's not a good thing to come to the meeting searching for problems. I don't like the fact we have to go to executive session and talk like that. There's a little bit of decorum that's lost in the board. It's different when you're sitting here listening to everything, and everybody's speaking in generalities. Oh, I talk to so many people, and they and them, and that just doesn't sit with me very well. Anyway, have a nice evening.
Okay. I just wanted to say a couple of things. Our high school band has participated in many events over this last spring as their competition season. The last event just ended on Saturday at Worlds of Fun. They participated in music in the parks, and they earned an excellent rating, which is, earned an excellent rating, and earned second place overall in their category. So that was pretty cool. And then I got to ride the roller coasters all day with them and chaperone the event, which is always super fun for me. And then As to the JROTC, I think this is the first one that I've missed for a while. The date was changed originally from the 9th to the 10th, and I already had plans on the 10th, so that is the reason that I was unable to attend. And then I just want to make a general statement tonight. Individual board members do not speak for the board as a whole. When we're out in the community or having private conversations with people, we have no rights or authority outside of this boardroom when we are not acting as a unified board. That's all I'm going to say, and meeting adjourned. 8:30.